What's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of thecreditrepairshop.com. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about credit repair done the right way. There are a lot of videos out there that are leading people down the wrong path. I'm all about allowing you to be able to get the correct information so you can move forward. If you don't know, I want you to know that my company is about to be 20 years old. You don't get to be a 20-year-old company by doing gimmicks. You don't get to be a 20-year-old company by ripping off people. You don't get to be a 20-year-old company by trying to fool the credit bureaus and furnishers. You get to be a 20-year-old credit repair company by doing things the right way. And I'm about to go through, first, I'm going to show you what people are telling you to do, and I'm going to describe the flaws in what they're telling you to do. Now, I'm not saying that it can't get something removed off your credit report, but I could tell you this. If you're trying to move forward in your life, you know what quick fixes will do to you. I don't have to tell you, you've probably done stuff in your own life. And think about it this way. Would you tell your younger self to do something and take these types of shortcuts that more than likely end up ruining you financially or end up stopping you from being able to move forward when it really matters? And I'm going to get into that in this video here, because there will be a point where this stuff that they tell you to do, you're going to try to move forward, and it's going to come back to bite you so hard, you're going to be like, I just wasted all of my time, even if you were able to utilize what they told you to do to get stuff removed off your credit reports. I'm going to show you in this video exactly what will come back to bite you, and it'll be like a dog just grabbing you right in the back of your you-know-what and ripping it right off, because it's going to hurt when it happens. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen to people who have came to us, and I was like, this is exactly what they told you to do, and here's why you don't want to repair your credit that way. Now, this is what they tell you to do. This is what they tell you to do. They tell you to freeze the data furnisher. So where are my notes here? Here go my notes. So they're telling you to freeze LexisNexis. They're telling you to freeze iSoft, Array, M2, DataLink, and CAD Data Online. This is just a few of them. Guess what? If you want to freeze your furniture information, get ready to write to over 500 companies. There are 500 companies who submit information or is pulled down from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So right there, just right there tells you that this right here is not truly the solution. Because are you telling me that you're going to submit information to all of them to freeze your information? And what is going to be the basis of you freezing your information? Here's a little unknown fact that people do not even know about. Freezing your credit only freezes from people being able to run your credit. It does not freeze any information that is already on your credit report from being reviewed. You can take that to the bank. Any information that is already on your report, it does not freeze that information. And when they do lookups, and I'm going to get into exactly what happens when the Bureau, if they take your dispute serious, who they're going to go look at. And I can tell you right now, they don't go looking at the data furnishers that they pull that data from. They pull it from the furnisher who put that information on there. But we'll get to that in a minute. Next thing they want you to do is they want you to submit an ID theft. Okay, so we're going to submit an ID theft for an account that has our signature. Probably if you went into the place and got the loan, they might have your face on camera. And then you're going to file this false, because this is really false. You're going to file that with the FTC or CFPB and the police. So this is what you're going to do. And we forgot something. The item that you're submitting the false ID report on, you used, you benefited. So this is the part that they don't want you to understand about what you're doing. You're going to file a false ID theft report to the FTC, to the CFPB, to the police. They could potentially have your face on camera, and they also have your signature. You used and benefited from the item that you're submitting as ID theft. Let me tell you a quick story of what happened, something that happened with a former business associate that came to my office, and he said, "Steve, guess what?" This is after we, split that partnership, because he had a gambling problem. So partnership was over. Didn't want to be in business with him. Just said, "Here, take the business. I don't want to deal with you with that." He came to me one day because he rented a space next to my office building. And he said, "Steve, I got a new car, and guess what? I didn't have to pay for it." And I was like, "What do you mean you got a new car and you didn't have to pay for it?" He said, "Look out the window. It's right there in your parking lot." And it was those Charger type cars. And I was like, "What do you mean you didn't have to pay for it?" He was like, "I got the car, and then I submitted an ID theft report on my name, and so I got a free car." And I was like, "Okay, so you went and you filled out the application and put your signature on the loan." Okay, at that time, this happened some years back, probably at least about 8-9 years back, about 8-9 years back. So they wasn't doing the facial stuff, but I'm pretty sure that they would have a sales rep that say, "Hey, that was him." And also, guess what they had? They had his ID to prove who he was when he bought the vehicle. And then he went and filed an FTC report, CFPB report, and a police report. And the vehicle he said that the vehicle now is his for free. And I was like, "Okay, did you register the vehicle?" "Yes." "Okay." And I said, "You're going to get in trouble for this." He was like, "No, I'm not. And my partners that are now my new partners, they all got vehicles too." So I went out and looked over to the side from my parking lot, and it was like 4 vehicles there. Well, a few months later, police was there, towing away cars, and also putting people in the back of the police car, taking them to jail. Because you think that these companies are going to sell vehicles, and they have loans are not getting paid on, and that they're just going to say, "Oh, just forget it. We lost the car, just forget it." No, they are going to go after people. See, these gimmicks work 1, 2, 3 times, but when this starts to get to be widespread, they're on the lookout for it, and also they're going to do something about it, and they're going to do something even harsher punishment on people that are doing it. There was a video that I made where someone tried to buy a vehicle in Atlanta, and they got caught up. They stopped them right at the dealership. They're calling the police on people right away for that scam. So that scam don't even work anymore. Next, they want you to file a complaint with the BBB. Now, let me tell you something about this here. Did you know? Let me just tell you, did you know? Because there's been people that have filed BBB complaints about my company where maybe one of my employees dropped the ball or they wasn't satisfied with something that we, did. I don't, everybody has different mindset about their expectations. And I'm not here to say that we can satisfy everybody. I try to tell people, I say it in my video, the way that we repair credit, and if you cannot fit into that, go somewhere else. But some people, maybe because they just feel that they want to work with me, which a lot of people do, and we try to weed those people out that are not of the understanding of the way that we do it. But some people, that for whatever reason, either personal reason or whatever, they file a Better Business complaint. And we don't have that many. For how many years we've been in business, we don't have that many. But let me tell you something about a Better Business complaint that they do not want you to know about. Is that you don't just file a Better Business complaint and then the company does not have the ability to respond. When at least we respond, and I know that major corporations will respond, but when you file that Better Business complaint, if you file it against TransUnion, which is what or Equifax or Experian, they're saying to file a complaint with against the credit reporting agencies who are just reporting information. They are allowed to answer that complaint with all the force and power and data and information that they have about the individual making the complaint. So you can actually make your situation worse, because this is what you're going to do. Is you're going to actually put on record right here more lies about what you put over here. You're going to put that on record. And you're actually going to start building a case, depending on what you're doing and what you're saying. You're going to be building a case actually against yourself, especially if you're doing this type of stuff to get away from just paying people. Now, I understand people have financial troubles and they run into money problems and stuff like that. But if you're doing this stuff just to simply rip off companies, you are preparing yourself for the biggest setup ever. So they want you to submit a BBB complaint without you even understanding that every company will respond, and they're allowed to go into more detail about what you're specifically saying. So, for example, you say that credit card company that you signed up for and you submitted a CFPB ID theft report, and you submit that to the BBB, and you say that I submitted an ID theft for a credit card that I did not have. It is not mine. It's a lie. All of this stuff that you're going to put in this police report and all of that stuff. And then what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, this is the history. Now, it just depends on what they want to do, but they're going to say that this information was reported from such and such company. And we're only putting the information that company reported to us. We're the middle person, and this is substantiated information. And what most people don't realize when they're doing that is that when you have credit, I want you to look. This is your credit account. Let me show you how they catch you. It's going to be like check, 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 check. And then when you went bad. So are you saying in your report that it's only ID theft when it went bad right here? Or are you saying that when it was good times, that was you? Because that's in essence, that's what you're actually saying in all of this, is that when it comes down to it, bottom line, are you saying that this is you? Or is this you? because there's going to be rarely an account that you just start off and you're just right here. And then if you're doing that, that's going to even get you into more trouble when you start doing this, because that's what that guy was doing with the vehicles, him and his team. And then the next thing they want you to do is they want you to dispute all those negatives. And I'm here to tell you that when you dispute those negatives, they are not going right here on that. I don't care what people say. And if you believe them, fly over there and do that and go that direction. But you're going to want to watch the rest of this video, because you're going to see why this is important and why it doesn't even work that way. So when you dispute all your negatives, and why would you be disputing all your negatives if you did an ID report, ID theft report? And why would you do that if you did the BBB complaint? If this is going to work, if all of this is going to work, why would you even have to dispute your negatives? The reason why is because that information on there is not going to be removed. That's why. It's not going to be removed, because they're going to go to the furnisher who placed the information on there. They're not going to go to LexisNexis and all of those places. So now, right here, 19 years, going on 20 years in business. If you're going to repair your credit, this is the most important thing that you need to do right here. Is you need to get your mind right. You need to have an understanding of how you're going to handle your money and how you're going to use your credit. Because isn't that the root? If we look at it, if we have a tree, I hate to draw a red tree. I don't want to draw a red tree. If we have a tree, here go the roots. The roots is what you can't see. See, they want you to see everything that you can see. And that's why nothing works. That's why nothing gets fixed. That's why you run into the same problems. That's why it's 3, 4, 5 years later and you're in the same place, same situation. Even if your credit is repaired, you're still back in that same situation because you don't have the mindset of handling your money and using your credit. Handling your money. There is no amount of money. I don't care what people say. I've seen it on all different levels. I've even seen it with myself. There is no amount of money that you can make that is enough money if you don't know how to handle your money. There is no amount. I've seen it with athletes. As a matter of fact, years ago, there was an athlete that I counseled a little bit. He was not ready for my counseling yet, but had made over $52 million. And guess what? He ended up working at, I'm not going to say where because that would identify who that sports player is, but he was working an hourly job. He's kind of rebounded a little bit now, but he does not have that type of money anymore. But $52 million. I bet right now, if I came to you and I said, okay, here's $52 million, you would think that that's enough money to do everything that you want to do. I'm here to tell you, if you have bad credit and you have too much debt and you're barely making your payments, or you're living paycheck to paycheck, you will be living paycheck to paycheck on $52 million. I went through it when I started my business in 1990. 4 years later, I went from earning $384.64 every 2 weeks as a security guard in 1990 after I got out of the military. From 4 years later, earning over $100,000 a year, and my wife and I were living paycheck to paycheck, and then we went over where we were not able to afford everything because our spending was out of control. So no amount of money there is no amount of money. Get that in your head. So get your mind right. There is no amount of money. You can't work yourself to the bone out of a bad money habit, mindset. You're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to do it. I know I'm repeating myself, but you need to get this. Maybe say it after me. I cannot work myself out of debt if I still have bad money habits, if I don't know how to handle my money. You're just not going to be able to do it. And the next thing is you're not going to be able to move forward with your credit if you don't use your credit the right way. If you don't use your credit the right way, they go hand in hand. It's not even like this is like 1A and 1A. They both are the same importance because they both end up being the root cause of what ends up growing out into your reality. If you handle your credit wrong, you have too many bills, all the payments start to stack up, and all of a sudden you're living paycheck to paycheck, and then you start to use your credit to pay your monthly expenses, and then that stacks up even more, and then all of a sudden you're not even able to pay the minimum payments because all the money that you're making is going into paying bills, and now you're going to work just to pay bills. You're not going to work to live. You're going to work just to pay bills. And no matter what amount of money you have, if you're doing that and you're not handling your money and using your credit wrong, it is not going to work. So now let's look at how to repair your credit the right way. This is what they look for, and this is the way that it'll get done. And everybody's situation is a little bit different. No one situation is the same. You might have a credit card that just charged off. You might have a credit card that is charged off 2 years ago. You might have a credit card that charged off 5 years ago. Everybody's situation is different. And depending on where you're at with that specific account, what has been done is going to determine the time frame of how long it's going to take you to be able to repair your credit. Also, depending on what you want to do moving forward in your life will determine how fast your credit can get repaired so you can move forward in your life. And also, if your mind is not right and you are given the instructions on what to do, you will not do it, and that will not allow you to be able to move forward with your credit repair process. See, you focus too much on the letters, you focus too much on all of the external things when the most important piece of credit repair is changing yourself. Because think about it this way, when you have an 800 credit score, you are not going to be the same person because an 800 credit score does not match. An 800 credit score does not match a person that has problems with using their credit. An 800 credit score does not match with a person who has problems handling their money. So if you don't change, nothing that anyone does is going to ultimately work for you because you haven't changed. You are the roots, and what you do is the root, and that's what's going to grow. So even if your credit is fixed and you don't change, nothing up here is going to look like it changed. It's going to be like getting a haircut and then it all grows back the wrong way. That's what it's going to be like. That's exactly what it's going to be like. That's a good analogy. So the first thing that you got to do to repair your credit the right way is you got to gather the data, the information. What is going on? Why is this stuff hurting you? What happened during that process? Tell us what happened that made this situation happen, because that's going to determine the path that might be able to get this resolved either faster or it's going to take a little bit of time. But at least you're going to have that understanding, that education, that mindset of, okay, this is what I'm facing and this is the way it needs to be done. Not being external and looking for all of the gimmicks and quick fixes, because your situation is different. Say that after me. Your situation is different from someone else's, and that's what makes you unique as an individual. So you gather your data, and don't be afraid to gather your data. There's so many. Some of the times people are afraid to gather the data. Like, they'll call us and they'll say, my credit is messed up. And we say, okay, well, what's wrong with your credit? And they say, I think because I got denied, I think my credit is messed up because they denied me. You need to get that information and look at it. It's like looking a person in the face. You say, okay, this is what's wrong. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong. So you will know. You got to know what you got to face so you can move yourself up that hill. And you need to get all of the information, not just a piece of it. These free sites that give a person a little piece, a little slice of what's going on. Would you just want a little slice of what's going on with your credit? This is your life. Or would you want to have it all? I want all the data. I want everything so I can make the right decisions on how I'm going to be able to move forward in my life. So get all of the data. The next thing is you need to put a game plan. Remember, I said you are unique. Your situations are unique. Your game plan is different than someone else's game plan. So the game plan is put together to, number one, dispute information either with factual, which means that there's some sort of inaccurate information on there. And I already heard some people say, hey, Steve, what are you talking about? You're disputing negative information that I already had. And no, you're disputing the information from the game plan about why that information can't remain on your credit. Let me give you one quick one. If you have a collection and that debt collector bought that debt from the original creditor, and the original creditor just has it sitting on your credit reports as a charge-off, and it does not state that it was sold, did you know that that's inaccurate reporting? Even though you don't owe them, that's inaccurate reporting. If that's just one part of it. Now, what if when they sold it, they accepted money, and if they accepted money, isn't it paid for less? If you were to settle with that original creditor that put a charged off account on your credit reports, it does not say, well, it was settled for less by you. I've seen this over and over and over again. It does not say, well, Stephen A. Williams settled that account for less. It's implied, but it does not state it that way. So if a debt collector buys your debt from the original creditor, in essence, did the original creditor accept money for that account? Just say yes or no. If a debt collector buys the debt from the original creditor, did the original creditor accept money for the account? Yes or no? Now, why isn't that information reported on your credit reports? The reason why is because no one ever thought about it that way other than me. I came up with that. If someone's out there right now that's copying it, let me know, but I know I'm the one that came up with that. Because reviewing real information, not just selling people software, not just selling people templates, dealing with thousands of customers who had different situations, reviewing those reports, this is something that I started to see a pattern on, where accounts were sold and they did not list them either as sold, or they were not listed that account was settled for less, paid for less. So when that happens, that information could be removed, and that's going to be when The bureau gets it. What they're supposed to do is they're supposed to get that over to the furnisher and say, hey, that account, this individual is saying that you're not reporting this right, and that takes away right there. And you can go and do this research yourself. If TransUnion gets information, they do not run over to SageStream to get that. Mainly, they're using that information for public records. But TransUnion is going to go straight to that furnisher and say, hey, did you sell that account? Well, they're going to go off of your dispute. But did you sell that account for less? And why didn't you put that in your notes? You know you're supposed to update that stuff in there. And maybe they might update it and they just say, hey, it is paid for less. Or they might just say, just remove all the information off of the report. Just take it off. Because we don't deal with this individual anymore. We're in the business of getting more people to get credit cards because that's the way we make our money. So take it off. Another thing that you could look for is that if it says the word cancel, you won't see this on those free reports. But if you see the word cancel, your debt could potentially be canceled with a 1099-C. We had a client that we were negotiating a settlement for. Oh, I know I was going to say this about we almost got caught slipping yesterday. We were on the phone with a major credit card company with our client. And our client gave us permission to do the negotiations with the credit card company. And I said, we got to run through our checks. And our checks are, which is part of the game plan for this individual, they only had one item left, and it was a credit card debt. And we said, okay, let's run through our checks again to make sure, because what the credit card company did is that they had updated the information on that data, but when we did our review consultation, before we go into settlements, we do a review consultation with our clients, and we say, for sure, because for some reason it was not reporting the right way on her credit reports, we said, when did you get that account and when was it charged off? And we found out that that account was actually charged off past the statute of limitations period for the state that she lived in. But let me tell you something else that happened on the phone conversation. My rep said, okay, if we come to this agreement on this, my rep said this is the amount that we would like to offer, but the rep for the credit card company said something that caught my rep's attention. And this is what the rep for the credit card company said. The debt, which is normal, anything that is not paid will be written off to the IRS as a 1099-C cancellation of debt. But then the rep also said if the debt is not paid, so if our client did not follow through with the settlement, that they also said it was going to be a 1099-C file for the entire amount. And my rep, because they've been trained by me, and I heard him, and I'm very proud of him, he said, could you answer one quick question for me? Have you already filed a 1099-C on this debt? And guess what the rep said? The rep said yes. The rep said yes. So they did not put the word canceled on the data, on the credit report. They did not accurately put the history on the credit report. We still haven't figured out why the way that it was showing the way that it was showing, why it was showing the way it was showing. We still haven't figured that out yet. But bottom line, the account was past the legal statute of limitations to collect, and if she was to wait one more year without doing anything, it's supposed to drop off the credit reports in one more year. But they trying to get something done, so they need to have this removed. But because they filed a 1099-C with the IRS, we told her, call the IRS now, get that 1099-C document so we can get that filed with TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and forget the settlement, because you have no legal obligation to pay that debt now. Now, that's the right way to do it. It takes work. It takes phone calls. It's not just about sending letters, but that's the right way to do it. Now, also, what you want to do with your game plan is you want to go at the furnishers. Challenge the information that they've put on there. And it's not just a debt validation. You want to find out everything about the specific ways that they have placed that information on that individual's credit report. But now you might be saying, okay, Steve, but I did have the account. And that's where we get to the outcomes. Remember, I said we repair credit a certain way. Some stuff you're going to have to settle so you can move forward. And I'm going to tell you why that's so important on the next screen. So the outcomes, deletions, because they didn't prove it. And they tell them what to do. It is not the opposite. Or you can have settlement so you can move forward. And now let me tell you why it's so important to understand that settlements could be part of your process. And this is mind-blowing. This is the mind-blowing credit repair done the right way, is that this is, you know this, but you don't understand this completely, is that you cannot use your credit if frozen. That means that if you're trying to buy a house, trying to buy a car, you can't use your credit if it's frozen, and that creditors can see more than what you can see on your reports. That's something that people do not understand. They own their credit reports. They can see your entire history. They can actually also see if you've been in traffic accidents, if you've ever been arrested, depending on what type of report they want to order, they can see that. And then underwriters will find it. Underwriters will always find it. So this is the way that you repair your credit the right way. And I would like to thank you for watching this video. If you need help with your credit, please visit thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, What Makes Us Different, so you can see my 8-point validation process, my 2-phase settlement process. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website your3scores.com. If you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters, statute of limitations, cease and desist collection act.